The Unknowable domain. It is the latest expansion module for the simulated universe that we have received. And in all honesty, it is so much more fun than I thought it would be at first. Like, the first few times I played it, I was like, okay, this is neat, it's simple, I dig it. But I wasn't like a huge fan of it. And then I kept playing more and more and more and understanding it better and better and better. And then I understood why it was a lot of fun for me. Like, to perhaps a very excessive amount. Because for context, this video is coming out on Tuesday. This video should have come out on Sunday, but I was too busy playing this goddamn game mode, trying to min-max it. And yeah, that's the reason why I didn't post when I should have. That is my bad, I'm sorry. Now, you might be wondering, why exactly do I love this game mode so freaking much? And what exactly made it so that I would shift my opinion from not really caring about it at all to absolutely having a positive view on it? As a quick disclaimer, however, I want to specify that although most of the things that I will say are positives, I do acknowledge that there are many different flaws that this game mode does have and should fix, and it would make it, in my opinion, one of the perfect game modes that would make it very addictive, at least for me, to constantly replay it. So, with all that out of the way, let us see why the Unknowable domain is such a beautiful addition to the simulated universe. Starting things off, there's one major thing that we should definitely clarify, and it is the distinctions that this has in comparison to previous simulated universe that we have experienced all the way up to now. In particular, the removal of blessings. In a normal simulated universe run, you would select the path that you wish to follow, and then you would be able to find blessings according to the playstyle that you want to more or less arrange your team around. Do you want to focus yourself on basic attacks? You go propagation. Do you want to focus on ultimates? You would go erudition. Nihility for those that play DOT, and hunt if you want to go for critical strikes. Here, everything is tossed away completely. Rather than having blessings or even equations like we did in the Divergent universe, Star Rail decided to switch things up a little bit and gave us Scepters, these sort of follow-up attack companions that we get, that if you meet a certain criteria or if you manage to get to their turn, will take action and deal massive amounts of damage. In here we have two different types of Scepter, which are charge, which usually imply for you to do a specific requirement in order to charge them. These conditions can vary massively depending on which scepter you're going for. Some of these may require you to perform a certain amount of follow-up attacks in order to activate itself. Others will ask you to inflict damage over time status onto the opponent, while some require you to use your ultimate. Or in the case of break characters, it requires you to do damage to the toughness of an enemy. Mind you, all of these have very minor little differences, so it's not like this is the only ways to charge these scepters, and you have to adapt yourself in order to activate these scepters as many times as possible. However, that's not all. Apart from just having these scepters that you can use in combat, you also can upgrade them depending on what kind of components you can find. Components are the new ging mechanic that has replaced blessings altogether, which in all honesty, I'm not really sure how to feel about them, but they have been fun, so I'm gonna give them a pass for the time being. These components will help diversify and vary your runs every single time you go into them. Some components buff the scepters themselves, allowing them to perform more damage, increasing their speed, or increasing the efficiency at which you charge them. On the other hand, there are also some components that will allow your party to become enhanced and deal a lot more damage. Personally speaking, I am a huge fan of these in particular, because one of the flaws that I do find with the scepter system is that more often than not, you feel like you are not doing any damage, like whatsoever. It feels sometimes miserable. I'm not gonna deny that. Like, for example, sometimes I have had moments where my scepter does around 300,000 damage to opponents, and then it's my character's turn, the actual character that I control and take over with, where I'm supposed to have the most amount of agency, and then I do like 20,000, like barely anything to dent the opponent. And mind you, like 20,000 does sound like a decently large number sometimes, I guess. But it does like 1% of the boss's health. And then it doesn't feel rewarding. Sure, you're getting like a decently big number, but you're like, huh, that amounted to absolutely nothing. And then you feel like you're playing auto chess. Which, on one hand, again, I do love that type of playstyle. Just not within Star Rail itself, where I want to be the one performing these actions and big braining the hell out of this game. But, trust me, when you actually get to have a character doing the damage because of the components you got, oh, this is so much fun. I want to continue further into this video by talking about the components, because while you can mission match and upgrade your scepter with them, there's one very specific and perhaps niche thing that makes me adore this system so goddamn much. And it is involving the rarity of these components and how you further upgrade them. For those that don't know, or maybe didn't pay attention initially to the tutorial, like I did, you might have noticed that you can get repeats of certain components, and while you are encouraged to go find a better rarity one than the one that you already have, if you are able to get 3 of a kind of the same rarity of component, it immediately upgrades itself into a new version of that component that is of that higher rarity. So if you get 3 1-star components, they become a 2-star component. And if you get a 2-star component 3 times, then they become a 3-star component, which are the most broken ones of them all. And on top of that, you also get a reward of the same tier of component that you were able to create this amalgamation. So again, if you got 3 of the same in a 1-star rarity, you're gonna be given a new 1-star rarity component that you can perhaps roll into another 3 of a kind, or maybe it's useful for the future. Who knows? But when you combo those and get back to back to back to back to back components, it's incredibly enjoyable, and it feeds my desire to play auto battlers, because that is something that I would normally see in Teamfight Tactics or Hearthstone Battlegrounds. Those are the only 2 auto battlers that I will admit that I have played. Though, I have been looking into getting the Bazaar, and that is also something that has been fueling that type of playstyle within my brain. So you gotta blame these games for my addiction to this new game mode. Furthermore, however, going back to the topic, this is one of the cases where I will admit that I like playing a lot more on higher conundrums than in previous ones. In particular, I believe it is after Conundrum 3 that it becomes the most amount of fun, because they no longer give you a restriction on how many times you can override your components and try to reroll them into better ones. Why am I saying in particular this is the best game mode to be playing? Because I often run out of chances when I've done it in lower levels, and that has frustrated me, because I have had a decent amount of cosmic fragments remaining that I could be able to gamble with, but the game doesn't allow me. And it's not like I have I don't remember the name of the curio, but it's like the blue robes that for every 100 cosmic fragments you deal more damage. Yeah, like since I don't have that curio, I don't really have any more need for my cosmic fragments, so I just want to toss them away and re-roll them until I get something good, something that I want. And that is preventing me. So at one point they're like, oh hey, like now re-rolling is gonna cost more, but you get infinite. And I'm like, yes, this is exactly everything I needed. If you can hear from the sound of my voice, I'm getting more excited. And it's because I don't know why, but just breaking the game and all of its fundamentals is excruciatingly fun for me. To a point that it might be concerning, but it's so much fun to just break the reality of the game and just do something that you, technically speaking, wouldn't be intended to do, but you just do so anyway. So, yeah, I mean, this is the reason why I genuinely have so much fun with it. The components have had their positive impact into the playstyle, in my personal opinion. However, there have also been a few negatives with us no longer being able to run whatever path we wanted. And those are the ones that do disappoint me. And I hate to say it like that because, again, I've been having a lot of fun with this game mode. What is perhaps the biggest crime that this game mode does is getting rid of the blessings. I know I've spoken very positively of the components and why I love them. They're so much fun, but losing the blessings was incredibly rough. Because I feel like the blessings were very easy to digest and very simple to understand, and just being able to stack them and grow them infinitely without the restriction of, hey, you have like this specific amount of slots within your scepter, made it a lot more just less thinking. And that is something that I do miss from that specific game mode. Mind you, again, the level of fun that I'm getting from the Scepters may be a lot more fun to a certain extent. I do miss not having to think, and I know that there's the smart insertion in the components, but I don't like doing that. Come on, like I do, like if I'm building something, I want to build it right. I'm not gonna trust the AI to do it for me. I've seen what the AI does when I put Tingyun or Yanqing in my party, and they decide to use all my skill points on Tingyun and none on Yanqing when he's supposed to be the one using all said skill points. I'm ranting, but again, I need to vent it out. That being said, though, again, the loss of blessings, in my personal opinion, was a huge loss. In particular, because at the very beginning of every run, you get to pick which of 4 different playstyles you get to pick. And that is either ultimate focused, follow-up attack focused, damage over time focused, or break effect focused. Those are the only 4 styles of gameplay that you are allowed to use within this game mode. And it feels unethical. I don't know, it just doesn't sit right with me. Because there are a few playstyles that are completely gone. I feel like none of these really benefit characters from the past, such as Blade, Jing Liu. It doesn't really benefit. I mean, I know that some of them can go into, like follow-up attack or whatchamacallit, ultimate, but it just doesn't feel right putting them in there, in my personal opinion. The biggest crime of them all, though, is that there is nothing equivalent to the propagation, something focused on basic attacks. And the reason why I say that is because I don't feel like I can play Imbiber Lune or Qing Chue in these game modes to the level of fun that I was having when I was running propagation in Golden Gears and Swarm Disaster, even on the Divergent universe. That spark is gone. I don't feel like there are those levels of characters, not of characters, like of buffs, that incentivize me to play these other styles of playstyle. And I feel locked. In particular, I also don't really enjoy the fact that I can no longer run preservation and run my shields at opponents, watching as they delete themselves out of oblivion because they attacked me and Quake did a lot of damage to them. I hate that I can no longer run abundance and just hyper stack damage with destruction by lowering my HP and keep on increasing it over and over and over again in this endless cycle so that Dewdrop can nuke the opponent. And I hate that I can no longer run something as silly as Remembrance, watching enemies literally explode in eyes, because I just keep constantly attacking them by combining the path of Elation or of the Hunt and just have this amalgamation of different playstyles that combo really well together and create busted teams. On one hand, again, like I was getting a little bit tired of like some of these combinations because those are the more reliable ones, and I was doing them in the simulated universe and divergent universe and such. But like, I hate that I can no longer do them now that they're not necessarily gone, but they're not available in this game mode. And that is something that I feel like it's missing within this charm. Us having only 4 different types of game modes feels a little bit dull. It is still very enjoyable and it's still a lot of fun, but it feels limiting. And that is just something that has been bugging me, and I wanted to vent that out in this video. I have a lot of fun. I do want to clarify, I still have so much fun with this game mode. Before we move in to the final topic that I wish to speak about within this video, I want to say something real quick, and it is first, thanks to every single one of you guys that has subscribed to that channel. Your support means a lot to me. Having the conversations that we have in our comment section is always a lot of fun, and I really appreciate being able to talk with each and every single one of you guys, especially within the last video where we talked about Lushaka. While the video views weren't the highest, I did have a lot of meaningful conversations with a lot of you guys, and genuinely speaking, I'm like even more hyped for potentially new planets. I'm also looking into Vonquack, which we got a little bit more information, and now that I'm like looking into the lore, I'm like, ooh, interesting, more data for me to consume. And yeah, I don't know, I just want to say thank you guys for always being here, for being so supportive, and just, I don't know, just again, like I'm grateful for the community that we're building. So hey, if you want to be part of this community too, all you gotta do is hit that subscribe button. It's free. It only takes a second. And if you ever feel like I'm not really the type of content creator for you, or you feel like the quality of my content is just dropping and it's no longer for your specific taste, that's perfectly understandable. And you can always hit that unsubscribe button by just, hitting the same button you did to subscribe. I want to be able to continue performing and doing better every single time, and your guys' feedback, support, and everything goes a long way. With all that being said, let us go back into the video. The very last thing that I wish to speak about in this video is in regards to what would be endgame for the endgame content, which is kind of weird to be saying it like that, right? Because one of the major things that you have to face within the unknowable domain is a final boss, which can be a little bit too hard depending on how well built your scepters are. However, the thing that I genuinely enjoy the most is that if you are broken enough to just absolutely obliterate the final boss and make it disappear out of existence, you have the chance to enter a 4th plane. Usually you would only go through 3 planes. At the end of every plane, you fight a specific new boss and essentially move forward, become stronger, kind of go through the first 2 checkpoints before you fight the final boss, like you can do in every single simulated universe run that has ever existed. However, in this new scenario, they decided that if you are able to clear the final boss too fast, you have the option to end your run or enter the fourth plane, where you're gonna fight 6 waves of enemies, and you're gonna be able to get 500 more cosmic fragments in order to reroll components you don't want, upgrade one of your final scepters if you haven't finished upgrading them already, and then be able to fight what would be the hardest type of content within this new simulated universe. And not gonna lie, these enemies do hit very freaking hard. At some point, it becomes a game of delete or be deleted. And something that I wasn't giving actually too much praise to this game, that I feel like I definitely should now, the game mode. It's actually very fast, as opposed to Golden Gears and Swarm Disaster, and even to a certain point, Divergent Universe. For context, there is a mechanic in these game modes called Berserk, where if you take too long, enemies will become enraged, giving them extra movement speed as well as extra attack damage, making it so that if you are trying to stall, you're not going to be able to, and you're just going to be deleted out of this world by a singular one-hit delete, because they will scale to that point. Usually, if I recall correctly, getting into the Berserk state takes you around 15 to 20 rounds, which, in all honesty, is a lot of turns. So if you're getting to that point and you're not deleting the opponent, you have spent a good amount of time beating a ginormous meat shield that just has a lot of health, or maybe is healing way too much health. However, in this new game mode, in order to enter Berserk state, it only takes 2 rounds. Meaning that if you're not properly prepared, these enemies start ramping up super quickly, and it becomes a game of delete or be deleted. However, in order to compensate this, whenever you're doing a run, if I recall correctly, you get 4 extra cycles that you get to use at your own expense. If you're taking too long, you get those 4 extra cycles, but once they're being used, after the 2 basic ones that they give you by default, then you start consuming your reserves. And if you run out of reserves, then you go into Berserk mode. So, there's ways that they balanced it, there's ways that they made it very interesting, and overall, again, it prevents a game from going into an obscenely long amount of time. There are definitely a few things that I would pick up from this game mode and bring them into the next simulated universe, but also there are a few things that I wish that they didn't return, or at least that they expanded further upon. Because again, I do miss playing Qing Chue and Baiber Lune. I do miss playing Remembrance, Preservation, Abundance, Destruction. I feel like those other paths were not really properly represented this time around. So, I don't know. It just felt a little bit disappointing. I also miss using boundary equations. Boundary equations were a lot of fun. I don't remember what they were called in the original simulated universe, but yeah, whenever you press your R key and then it's like, hey, look, we're gonna do a little bonus action because you got 3 of the same type of blessing that you aligned yourself with at the beginning of the game. Or, boundary equations where if you get 16 of the same path, then you do a lot of damage for no reason at all. Yeah, no, those 2 are definitely fun. I do miss pressing that funny little button. So yeah. Wow, I just looked at the time and we've gone past 20 minutes. Not gonna lie, I didn't think I would be speaking about this for this long. If you have stuck all the way up to this point, first of all, I must apologize to you because I have kept you here for too long with me yapping your ear off. I'm sorry. Secondly, though, I really do appreciate you. It means a lot to me that you're using your time to be here, hearing me yap, and just being able to hear the ramblings of a man that is perhaps a little bit insane. That being said, there are a couple things that I do want to add to the end of this video. The first thing is that if you're watching this video, I am probably live on Twitch and YouTube if YouTube Live decides to be working properly. By the time that this video uploads, that is. I probably should have put this in the very beginning, now that I look at it, but oh well, shenanigans, it's okay. The second thing, though, is that the Scepters, I do find them to be a very interesting new mechanic. And the reason why I want to talk about them a little bit more in this end segment is because they feel like Hoyo's sort of way to test out new summon characters. In particular, because the speed Scepters are essentially like Numby or the Lightning Lord, or even Linksha's pet rabbit, whose name escapes me right now, but like, that is essentially what a speed scepter is within this game. So I'm wondering if this game mode is also a way for them to test out future summon characters that are charge based, similarly to how I guess Fei Xiao works with her follow-up attack, where if like 2 actions are taken into effect, then Fei Xiao takes an extra turn and does her follow-up attack. So maybe if you do a specific amount of follow-up attacks, then this new summon will be able to take action and do a lot of damage, kind of like a charge scepter. I don't know, I just thought it was very interesting, and I definitely am looking forward to that. But yeah, since we're in the end of the video, I just want to say thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed this sort of content, feel free to hit that subscribe button. It really helps us out a lot. Leave down a comment on what your experience has been on this new simulated universe. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you think that this is just something that you can get stellar jades from and never visit again? Because I like, that is a perfectly valid reason to just do this, and I feel like maybe it's not potentially too hard. I don't know. Regardless, I would love to hear all of your guys' opinions, and yeah, I hope you'll have a wonderful rest of your day, night, morning, whatever time zone you're watching this video, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.